Hi, everyone, and welcome to my presentation on studying abroad in Italy and Portugal. So, specifically, I'll be speaking about Sardinia for Italy and Lisbon for Portugal. And I myself have studied abroad in both of these destinations. I've studied in Sardinia, Italy in 2020 via Asia Exchange, and then I've studied in Portugal after that, and also lived here in Lisbon now for over 2.5 years in total. So yeah, my name is Filippa. I'm from Sweden. Originally, I've lived abroad for the past 5 years. So I'm 25 now. I moved from Sweden when I was 20 to move to Sardinia for a year. And then I've also lived in Germany and in France. So I've lived in a lot of different places. So hopefully my insights can help a lot of you. Especially if you want to study in Europe, feel free to reach out to me. I've left my email on the last slide so you guys can reach me if you have any questions about anything at all. And I'm also the content marketing specialist here at Asia Exchange, so I can also help you with any other questions that you might have. You can always reach out to me about anything. So I think we can start from when I moved abroad to Sardinia back in 2020. So I was actually gonna go to Bali, but then COVID happened, so I ended up going to Sardinia, Italy instead, which was like a huge looking back on it. I'm so happy that that happened. I had an amazing time studying in Sardinia. I was only going to stay for 1 semester and then I extended and stayed for two. And I went as a free mover student, which means that I wasn't enrolled in a university before this. So I wasn't a university student. I knew I wanted to study it. I didn't really know what. And that's why I decided to go to Sardinia for a semester to try different courses, be in a new culture. Like I knew I really wanted to study at university and that I really wanted to move abroad. So this was the perfect fit for me personally. And unfortunately, I was in Sardinia during COVID, which means that I didn't have any classes in person throughout the whole year. I only had online classes. But I was at the uni to go to the library and like the ESN network, so the Erasmus network for like people who study abroad in Sardinia were very involved. So I also met them like all the time. Everyone was super helpful. It was very easy to make friends even during the time I was there. So I can imagine if you're actually going to uni every day and seeing people in class every day, it's also very different because, like a lot of people I had class with, I never met them in real life. But I actually met some of my best friends until this day through this experience and through some of my classes because we had like group projects, we met anyways, and like connected through that. So, like, I made so many great friendships and had such a good year in Sardinia in general. And I didn't know basically anything about Sardinia before moving there. I decided to go approximately a month maybe before my semester started. So I had some time to Google and see some pictures. And now Sardinia is very popular and everyone I talk to know what Sardinia is, but for some reason at this time I like knew barely anything. I never heard anyone who went to Sardinia. It was always Sicily if anything. So it was such a great surprise coming there, seeing how beautiful it is. You can see here on this slide, like the background, like this is just a port where you walk every single day when you're living there. And it's so like beautiful everywhere. Then you have the beautiful beaches. Like it's just a great destination in general. Yeah, here you guys can see some like actual pictures from my time in Sardinia because it was truly the best ever. If you see like the old part up in the right corner, that's where I used to live like 2 minutes from there. Super easy to find housing as well, so don't worry about that. Like it's way cheaper than other destinations as well. This was in 2020, so the rents have probably gone up a bit, but I paid for room 250 euros a month, I think. And then I moved into an apartment that was an Airbnb. So then I paid about 600 a month for that apartment. So that was on the very expensive side for Sardinia. But yeah, this was life like year around. It was a beautiful year because it was so sunny. I think we swam in the ocean the first time, like for the year after New Year's in like beginning slash mid February. And let me tell you, it was warmer in the water in Sardinia in February than here in Lisbon in July. Because you have the luxury of having the Mediterranean, which is super nice, and the beaches are just like the most beautiful. I could talk about the Sardinian beaches for a year, so I'm gonna stop myself right here and move on to the next slide. Then, around 1 month after leaving Sardinia, I actually ended up moving to Lisbon, Portugal. I didn't go to the European University of Lisbon, but I've been there multiple times now working for Asia Exchange and seen all of the three campuses, which are all great and beautiful. And all the staff there are also super helpful. They're super used to having a lot of international students. Same goes for Sardinia as well. super friendly and open to the international students, which is great. And there's also a lot of organizations on the side and a lot of activities you can do as well. And yeah, I've been here in Lisbon now for 2.5 years in total, so I've been here for a while. And there are so many places to see in the city. Lisbon is slightly colder than Sardinia, like the winters here still get a little bit rougher than they do in some other southern European countries. But the summers are super nice. Like, I think that's one of the nicest things about Lisbon. I feel like it's the perfect summers. It's not like too hot, it's perfect temperature. You have the ocean very close. Same with, I would say it's kind of the same distance if you live in Sardinia or if you live here in Lisbon. If you live in the city center, it's about like to get to the closest beach, maybe half an hour. And that's the same kind of for both. But in Sardinia, you always take a bus, and here you take the train. And here are some of my favorite pictures from my years in Lisbon, and like you can see how beautiful this city really is. And yeah, some of these pictures is also from different spots around Portugal, because I think the best thing like about Lisbon is that you can go to so many different places in Portugal. So you can go to the islands like Madeira or the Azores, and you can also visit other cities like Porto, go down to the Algarve when it's nice weather. Like, it's truly so close to so many different places, so there's really a lot to see. If you're here for a semester, you will have some time to travel and explore. Most like exchange students will go to Madeira, which is truly like a must do because it's so cheap and easy going to Madeira from Lisbon. If you're in between studying in Lisbon or studying in Sardinia, I wanted to do a little comparison here between the cities because they are very different from each other, even though they have similar vibes in some ways because they're like relatively close to each other. So of course in Lisbon you get the like capital city, there's more opportunities, it's very international here, everyone speaks English always, so that's like a huge difference from Sardinia for sure. Because then Sardinia is more small community, like if you live in the capital of Cagliari, which you would do if you go to study abroad with us in Sardinia, I think there's approximately like 100,000 or 200,000 people in the city, so it's really like a smaller city compared to Lisbon. But it's surprisingly like internationally friendly because there is also a lot of tourism in Sardinia, so they're used to speaking English. Everyone who works in like restaurants and bars and stuff like that do speak English. But you will for sure struggle a little bit more. But the great thing in Sardinia and Italy in general is that locals are so friendly and you will always make Italian friends. So you have a lot of people to help you. I think it's a little bit easier. Also, because it's a smaller place, actually getting into the local community feels way easier in Sardinia than it does in Lisbon. So, yeah, a comparison, we do have the very cold water here in Portugal, so it's a bit different. You cannot swim in February here if you don't want to do like an ice bath situation. Yeah, one thing that's very different is also like this all like comes down to Lisbon being a capital city and Sardinia being an island in the Mediterranean, but like public transportation is also day and night in Sardinia. This can also have changed a little bit because I lived there during COVID, but public transportation was pretty limited. You were limited to taking the buses everywhere. And also, it's not the easiest thing always getting a taxi if you don't speak Italian. And I think the buses stopped going around like 10, 11 p.m. most days. So you have to plan a little bit more when you're going where and if you can get back home, if you have a solution. So I would recommend strongly with Sardinia, if you're going to live as like central as you can, think that you want to all the places you would go on a weekly basis to be walking distance, because I think that's the best way to do it there. You can just walk wherever, like whenever, and that's so much easier than being reliant on the buses than if you go into maybe some like parts of the university, because there's campuses like all around the city. You might have to take public transport, and the buses are super nice and like go often, but there can be like some problems sometimes, so the more central you live the better. Same in Lisbon, you can live here like super central as well. There's a lot of shared apartments, you can rent rooms. And then if you like very much are here for the beach life and want to surf a lot, you can also like try to live on the line where the train goes to the beach. It's also like a pretty good idea if that's one of the biggest reasons you're here. But otherwise, I would say, yeah, try to find something in the city center. The campuses are outside of the city, all of them actually, but There's direct metro line from like most places. You just have to like look a little bit. That's something with Lisbon, like look for the metro line that you're on the right line. But that also depends on what campus you will have most of your classes in. So it's either the blue line or the yellow line if you're looking at Lisbon. And then I put a must do for both destinations. So in Sardinia, it is travel around the coast of Sardinia because like I did a van trip when I was there, which was amazing to see all of the beaches. So you can just drive like around the whole coast. I think we were on the trip for like 8 days, but you can go shorter for sure if you would want to. And same with Portugal, like make the most out of being in Portugal. You can also go to so many places in Spain so easily, like travel a lot when you're in Lisbon as well. Now I'm going to go into some more details of the university itself in Sardinia. So it's the University of Cagliari. So the campuses are spread out all throughout the city. So there's like different parts you can walk between them basically because the city is still so small, but they're spread out. They're all like very old, beautiful locations. Also, this is Italy's oldest university, so it's like a lot of different faculties and everything is split up with the faculties. There's great libraries spread around the city. There's also a very large Erasmus network and a lot of international students, so you will always meet people from so many different countries who come there to study. When I was there, the biggest nationality groups were Spanish, French, German, and also Tunisian students. So there's like a spread throughout the world, and a lot of different people come to Sardinia to study. And a typical day in your life in Sardinia would be walking to campus, grabbing a coffee, grabbing a croissant. You can literally get breakfast in Sardinia for like €3. It's a very cheap location. And you would have classes during the day. You can go to beach after classes. There's always so many beautiful sunsets you can watch, and it's very easy to get from one spot to another like during the day. And then you can have late dinner in the afternoons with your friends. Sardinia is one of those places that there's truly always something to do and your days feel like super long. You're never really bored. And since it's such a small city, everything is so compact, so you keep like bumping into people in the same places and you're always in the same restaurants and stuff. So it's actually like you start feeling at home pretty fast when you're living in Sardinia. And for the European University of Lisbon, they have 3 campuses spread across the city. And I think the one that most students will be at now is the new green campus that is located in Oriente in Lisbon. That is a like modern new building, a lot of outdoor spaces, a great library. Like it's very like modern and beautiful. We have a lot of content from this campus. If you want to check it out, you can check it out on Instagram or on TikTok. We have like campus tours and everything from this new campus. And then they also have 2 other campuses. I've been to both, and both are also super nice. A lot of spaces to sit, hang out both inside and outside. There's also cafeteria, so you can eat your food there, eat breakfast there. There's also a lot of international students at the European University of Lisbon, so you will always have people from a lot of different nationalities, and they're very good with integrating them into the student community. And a day in Lisbon would look like going on the metro to campus, having breakfast there, then having your classes for the day. After school, you can go to flea market, have some afternoon coffee, meet some friends for to go to one of the many rooftops here in Lisbon. I feel like that's one of the nicest things. You can see so many beautiful views here from so many different places. And to be honest, I don't think I could choose between either of the cities if I had to recommend one. I think it really depends on if you want a more big city feel or a more local community. I think if you're from a big city already, I would go for Sardinia because it's nice having a different experience than what you're used to. And I think that can give so much, and there's so much to see and so many people to speak to that just gives you a different perspective. And if you're from a smaller town or a village, I would recommend going to Lisbon to get that more like Mediterranean capital vibe. Because Lisbon still doesn't feel like a huge city, but big enough for there always to be something to do, and you see new faces every day. There's so many neighborhoods to explore. And I would say for like affordability, I would definitely recommend Sardinia over Lisbon because Sardinia is way cheaper, rent is cheaper, the flights are a bit more expensive usually though since it is an island and you want to go to the specific like southern the airport of Cagliari when you move there, so it's just like a bit like more expensive with flights, but everything else is so much cheaper. While Lisbon is also cheap for being a European capital, but certain things are more expensive in Lisbon, like rent can be pretty pricey here. But then that also balances it out, so I would say it depends on your budget and what you're looking for exactly. Finding housing in both is not that tricky, it's pretty easy. And if you guys have any more questions that I haven't answered in this presentation, feel free to email me at this email address and I will make sure to answer all of your questions. And you can always reach out to me about these 2 destinations or any other destinations you have questions about, but these are the 2 that I personally experienced and lived in. And thank you guys so much for listening.